Welcome to Let's Talk About It. Broadcasting live from North Nashville, Tennessee. North Nashville spans from Metro Center down to the border of Bicentennial Mall, including the neighborhoods of Bordeaux, Buena Vista, Parkwood Estates, Germantown, Haynes Manor, Jefferson Street, Fisk Park, Cumberland Gardens, Oak Valley, Enchanted Hill, and many others. It's perhaps best known for the 3 universities housed here, including Tennessee State University, Fisk University, and Meharry Medical College. North Nashville is also home to the Tennessee Titans practice facility. The Tennessee Titans will begin construction on an expansion project at St. Thomas Sports Park, which will almost double its current footprint in Nashville's Metro Center neighborhood. The plan includes 60,000 square feet in additions, including a new building situated along one of the practice fields, and major renovation of spaces within the existing 75,000 square foot building.
Now live from North Nashville, Dr. William Head. Let's talk about it.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to a special edition of Let's Talk About It on NorthNashvilleTV.com, the voice of the voiceless. Well, the voiceless former president of Tennessee State University, who has in the last 2 months absorbed as much as she's going to take. And she said, enough is enough. Let me tell my side of the story. In the most recent edition of the Tennessee Tribune, you find an article that is front page news by the editor-in-chief of the interview conducted by the editor-in-chief of the newspaper, and Dr. Glover gets it off her chest. She is adamant about the fact that the state of Tennessee owes the university $2.1 billion, but the $520 million that the state appropriated recently has strings attached. The governor attached strings to that money and made it a slush fund for his retirement, as he made the whole thing for infrastructure, dedicated it to infrastructure. And now we find out that some new and upcoming maintenance company gets a $2.1 million a month contract to keep up the infrastructure on the Tennessee State campus without bid, without a request for bid, or anything else. Now, you say, well, he's the governor, he can do that. No, he can't. When you spend state money at a certain level, people have to be informed and have an opportunity to bid to do the work. The taxpayers of the state of Tennessee are the losers, because you and I, black, white, red, whatever, are taxpayers. What the governor has done is decided that he's going to determine how taxpayers' dollars are being spent at the expense of all of us. We pay taxes. We pay his salary. But he takes our tax funds and now wants to set up a voucher program to pay for tuition for his rich friends who want to go to private schools. He's going to start an effort to set up a state property tax. You folks in East Tennessee can attest to the fact your property was darn near washed away, and in some cases completely washed away. But he's going to tax you on what's supposed to be there. Even though you are suffering, he hasn't offered you a quarter. he wants to take Medicaid money and try to help you when he's got $1 billion fund, rainy day fund. Guess what? It was a rainy day that washed you away. That money should be accessible to every one of you who are suffering from the hurricane. You are still struggling, trying to recover. The governor has a rainy day fund that he's using at his discretion, and he doesn't include you in it. It ain't about black and white. It's about green and power. Tennessee State's president noted in her article that funds that are due to the university have been cut off at very inopportune times by auditors, the Tennessee Education Control Board. All of these things done exactly when they most hurt the university. Now, so the state claims that the university has mismanaged money. Okay, well, why is it that the auditors up until this point have not taken any action to make the school answer audit questions and audit exceptions? The school was rolling along. Everything was fine. But now they come up with these ridiculous numbers. These numbers could not have been accumulated over the time period that Dr. Glover has been at the university. If it was, then there is some criminality going on with the auditors and all other folk who run the state government as it relates to education. This is not a year's worth of deficit. This is not a 5-year plan of deficits. This is a deficit that the governor and his henchmen have heaped on Tennessee State that puts them in a bad light. This is called conspiracy. This is not a theory. Conspiracy in black and white, just like she told it. And they're using your money to do it. They're withholding support of Tennessee State University, holding your money that should be going toward education in the state. You say, well, all them black folks out there are black, white, red, yellow, whatever color. We all pay taxes. And if the legislature has anything to do with it, you'll be paying more. Tennessee State University received $255 million, which came to the school in increments. Then they hired this maintenance company that nobody knows about, and then says that the president of the university created a deficit with that. This is really a bad mess, not just because of the money that's involved, but because of the powers that be, inclusive of the media in Nashville, Tennessee, that is putting Tennessee State in a very negative light. Tennessee State had Grammy Awards in the last less than 5 years. And the report on the news was that fast. Since they've started attacking the university, the news media in Nashville seems to have lunch at their expense each and every day. And the expense is for the whole of the state of Tennessee, as much money as they seem to be siphoning off their budget. conspiracy in the first degree. Auditors who have not been doing their job. Does it rise to criminality? It may, because as you look at it, not only did they lie about the deficits and how they accrued, they also took money that you paid in taxes and spent it where they wanted to without going through proper channels, without you being a part of the spending of that money through your representatives in the Tennessee House and Tennessee Senate. This is certainly an act of revenge of some kind. I'll simply say, remember Ray Blanton? If you don't remember him, open up your phone and Google him and see the only governor of the state of Tennessee who went out of office abruptly because of criminal charges. Read about it. And we will be with you after these messages with our special guest, Mr. Hiram Jackson of Real Times Media.
Are you tired of missing out on North Nashville's hidden gems? Our business library is your gateway to the city's best-kept secrets. Discover local hotspots, from mouth-watering restaurants to cozy hotels, and everything in between. But we don't stop there. Tune into our exclusive podcast for insider tips and book tickets effortlessly for top venues like the Grand Ole Opry, Tennessee Performing Arts Center, and the Municipal Auditorium. And sports fans? We've got you covered too. From the Titans to the Predators, you can purchase your tickets and secure your seats. From the North Nashville Library, don't let another exciting opportunity slip away. Click the link below to unlock the full potential of North Nashville living today. Are you tired of fad diets and one-size-fits-all fitness programs that don't deliver results? Fitness Nation USA's Bodied by Jen and Jen and Juice offer a comprehensive wellness solution tailored to your unique needs. From personalized one-on-one coaching to energizing group classes, custom meal plans, and all-natural cold-pressed juices, we've got everything you need to transform your body and life. Our expert-led programs and products have already helped thousands achieve their health goals. Ready to join the fitness revolution? Visit jenandjuice.net today and take the first step towards a healthier, happier you.
Now I'm ready.
Ladies and gentlemen, our special guest today is Mr. Hiram Jackson of Detroit City. Good afternoon, Mr. Jackson.
Good afternoon. Good afternoon. So happy to be here with you, Brother Head.
Well, we thank you for taking time out of your busy day to hang out with a couple of country boys from Tennessee. You are, as I've already said, a rare bird. You are the once in a while bird that we see and are amazed to see because you're just that rare. A black man who owns a media company that is moving and successful. Tell us about your company and what you're doing and how you got there.
Oh, well, let me just say I'm really appreciative to be on your show. Everybody likes to talk about themselves, but I like talking about Black people more in general. And so this platform really gives me an opportunity to talk about our people and the things that we've been through as a people, And, the company that we have built is a great platform for us to share stories about our people. So I'm always looking forward to having conversations about Real Times Media and the brands that we own. And appreciative of you having me on your show. I was born and raised in Highland Park, Michigan. Highland Park is it's a very small city that's actually located in the middle of Detroit. So all of our borders are Detroit. It's a rare situation where you have an inner city inside of an inner city. But the interesting thing about Highland Park is the birthplace of the moving assembly line. Henry Ford built his first plant in Highland Park. First mile of concrete highway is in Highland Park. But by the 60s, it had become a black neighborhood, and 70s and in the 80s, it continued to shrink. Institutions started moving out of Highland Park and so forth. So I was, like I said, born and raised. My mom and dad lived with my mom and dad. My father was a janitor. My mom worked at a nursing home. But both were in the house, and so I had learned a great work ethic, and both were heavy on education. And so I actually went to Detroit Country Day School, which was in the suburbs of Detroit, because my mom and dad were truly vested in education and wanted me to, be able to explore educationally. After Detroit Country Day, I was able to go to Cornell University in Ithaca, New York, and I studied industrial and labor relations. And after matriculating from Cornell, I came home to work for Ford Motor Company in labor relations. Loved working at Ford Motor Company. Loved working with the unions. Started my career at Ford in the plants, but quickly ascended up to management and was able to work on some pretty high profile union management types of initiatives. But quite frankly, I wanted to be an entrepreneur. I don't, there weren't any entrepreneurs in my family. But along the way, I met some very successful people at Detroit Country Day and Cornell, learned more about the work that they were doing and what entrepreneurship was all about. Building your own business, crafting your own life, crafting your own schedule, hiring black people, putting them to work. And I was just really intrigued by that. Didn't know what to do, how to do it, when to do it, why to do it. But I just had this desire to be, an independent businessman. And so without preparation, without thinking about it a whole lot, I ended up quitting my job at Ford. As my dad would say, that good job with benefits. That good job. I just walked in my supervisor's office one day and told him that this wasn't working out for me, and I had to go chase my dream. And he said, "Well, what's that, Hiram?" And I couldn't even articulate the dream at that time. I just wanted to be an entrepreneur.
Dreams are not always explainable.
Exactly.
It's not a dream if you know everything about it.
Right. No doubt. But what's interesting about it is there was a guy who was actually dating my sister, who was in the bump and paint business, fixing cars, collision repair business. And he had come to me and asked me to loan him some money. And the amount of money he asked me was all the money I had. I didn't know him that well, so I asked him, I said, "What are you going to do with this money?" He said, "Well, I'm going to go to the auction, the car auction. I'm going to buy a car, a wrecked car out of the auction. I'm going to buy the parts. I'm going to fix that car, and then I'm going to put the repaired car back in the auction and sell it. And from those proceeds, I'm going to pay off all the bills and keep the rest. And at that point, I can give you your money back." I loaned him the money. Sure enough, came back, gave me my money back with some interest. I said, hey man, let's run that back. Let's do it again. So we did that a couple of times, and after that, I was convinced. I quit my job, and we started my first business called New Center Collision, and it was really just bump and paint collision services. I think that was in 1990, and ran that for a couple of years. Ended up selling my interests, and I got into technology. I met a gentleman who had built a substantial technology installation company, phones, computers, local area networks, and this is right at the time when the internet was getting hot. I found a way to work with him, and we ended up substantially growing that business. We got it up to about $25-30 million a year. And then we were able to attract our local utility here in Detroit as an investor. They bought 49% of our company, and then we, continued to grow the company through acquisition and customers. We ended up building that company to about $120 million a year with 700 employees around the world, and we were installing fiber optics underground, doing aerial fiber optics, large phone systems, switching gears for new phone systems. And hey, I thought I was the richest black man in the world, man. I had gone from working from Ford to entrepreneurship.
On that
Oh
good
yeah.
job.
Oh yeah. I was on the roll, man. I was on a roll. And but those were good days. But then I ran into some headwinds in 2001 when 9/11 came, caused a technology crash, and basically my company crashed. I ended up filing bankruptcy with that company, lost 95% of it overnight. Went from 120 million a year to nothing.
Wow.
And that was you're talking about shocking. As quickly as I built that company, I lost it, and I was devastated. You go from having 700 employees to nothing. That would
How long did it take that crash to occur?
I bet you it took about, I initially started having some issues, I would say 6 months total.
Okay.
I went from 120 million to zero.
So
And,
was it a supply and demand thing or a blockage because of 9/11's effect on the world? What was it?
Yeah, what happened was it caused a technology crash. Wall Street was highly impacted by 9/11. There were several startup phone companies during that technology crash that went out of business. If you remember, just like 2008, in 2001, we had a financial crash, the banks. So I basically lost half my clients, which were automotive, financial services, and technology companies. And so I went from, I overnight lost, 60-70% of my clients.
Wow.
Yeah. So, that was a pretty tough deal. In the meantime, though, I had made some investments. I had invested in a company called Genesis Energy Solutions. We were headquartered out of Atlanta, and we were doing underground construction with utility systems. We were doing tree trimming, keeping the tree limbs off the aerial utility lines, maintenance on street lights and traffic signals. I don't know what made me get in that business, but I, luckily had invested in it. And although my technology company went under, I still had that company. And I was, I always had some really strong black entrepreneurs as mentors. And I was working with a group of black men here in Detroit. We used to go on a retreat every year. We would invest our money together. We would have a lot of activities, and I was a young man at the time, and so I was the guy that was sitting in the room listening to their big plans. We had automotive suppliers in that group, some really successful entrepreneurs, but we decided to invest in a group of black newspapers at that time, right before we crashed. And that's how Real Times was created. We were actually partnered with a group of African American business people in Chicago. We put our group together in Detroit, and we jointly created Real Times, which at the time was only, 5, 6 black newspapers. Chicago Defender, Pittsburgh Courier, the Tri-State Defender in Memphis, Pittsburgh Courier, and I think I said the Michigan Chronicle. So when I went under with my company, Global Technologies, I was able to have Genesis and I was only an investor at Real Times at the time, but I learned a lot, man. Going out of business will teach you a lot. Going out of business will really question your fortitude.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean? You start to really understand who you are and what you're willing to do if you really want to be successful. And I had never experienced failure like that. Not many people get to the point where they have $120 million company. And here I am, I had a $120 million company and lost it.
Boom.
And so, it was devastating, but I never missed a beat, man. I got up and went to work. I got up the next day, went to work, and I said, hey, if I did it once, I could do it again. And every day I had to have that talk with myself in the mirror, but I just went back to work, and that was like 2002, 2004. I had a series of tough things that happened after the bankruptcy. My dad died in 2004. I got diagnosed with cancer in 2005. I had a son that was born prematurely, 1 pound and 3 ounces, for 8. Didn't know if he was going to live or die. So I had 3 or 4 years, 4 or 5 years actually, where it was just right after the bankruptcy. It was tough. It was tough, but I never lost faith, and I always believed in myself.
Faith
yes.
in you and the man above.
Absolutely. And I always knew what my capabilities were, so I didn't doubt myself. There were times when I was ready to go get a job, but I never went and got a job.
I committed good jobs.
Yeah. 9 to 5 benefits. At that time, I had 2 young kids and a wife, looking at me funny when I came home with no paycheck. But I never gave up, man. I never gave up. And God gave me a second chance at success. I took the reins of Real Times in 2006. I became the CEO, and I was charged with creating a new path for the organization. And at that time, we were just printing black newspapers, but I knew that was short-lived. I knew I couldn't rebuild $1 million company just with the black newspapers when print was declining so rapidly. So I put together a plan and reinvented the company. We reinvented the company. Today, we do, 60 events a year around the country. We own a brand called Who's Who in Black that operates in 15 cities. Cities like Charlotte, Atlanta, Chicago, Cleveland, Columbus, Houston, Dallas. We have a marketing company called Pitch Black. We work with Fortune 500 companies to help them better understand how to communicate with the Black community, how to develop authentic engagement with the Black community. It's a strategic communications firm that we launched several years ago. We still have our news brands, so we have a pretty robust news operation in Detroit, in Chicago, Atlanta, in Pittsburgh. And then we have a licensing and merchandising arm where, we have 2 million images in our archival library, and we work with ad agencies and movie studios and colleges and universities, and they license our images when they want to tell stories about the Black experience. And so, Mr. Head, what I love about this business is I get to celebrate Black people every day in each corner of the country. We tell a lot of stories about Black people that are previously untold. And so, so I've enjoyed every step of it.
Sounds like you've been stepping, my brother. You've stepped through, around, and over some terrible obstacles. As you find, well, let's back up. The colonizers during the time of slavery did everything to put us in a posture where we do not trust one another. And every time I talk to someone about putting together an investment group, the first thing is, well, and then I know there's no need of talking to that individual much longer. How do you find people who can find the trust in a man who will shake your hand and look you dead in the eye and say yes or no, and it's not about maybe? What is the secret?
In terms of investing?
Or anything where you're doing business.
Oh, okay. Well, I mean, I've seen it all. I've seen people who are unscrupulous, who, you shake their hand and do a deal. You want to do a deal, and, no contract is going to save you from an unscrupulous person. But I got to tell you, most of my experiences with people, especially Black people, have been very positive. I hear all the time that Black people don't work together. Black men don't trust each other. But I'll tell you, I wouldn't be sitting here today if it wasn't for Black men supporting my efforts.
Amen.
That, my experience has been, extraordinary. I've been extraordinarily supported by Black men. I had a mentor who recently died. His name was Dr. William F. Picard, one of the richest Black men in America, automotive supplier, one of the largest investors in MGM Grand Casino, Detroit, one of the first Black McDonald's franchisees, a social worker by heart. And, O'Neill Swanson owned a chain of funeral homes and one of the original investors in Motor City Casino. And he's a real estate magnate. Ron Hall Sr., when he died, his company was doing $3 billion a year making seats for General Motors cars. And I knew all of these guys when they didn't have all of that. And good, solid Black men who played by the rules, did everything their community asked them to do, and we made money together. Now, obviously, that's not how how everyone is.
No.
But all I can do, I can speak about my experiences where you know black men, black women have been very responsive, very supportive, and I think that it's a numbers game. You got to talk to 10 people to end up with two or three solid people. But I do believe this. I do believe that old saying, "Birds of a feather flock
Flock
together."
together, yes, sir.
I do believe if you're a man of integrity, a man that or woman that is doing business the right way, I do believe that you will attract those kind of people, and those people will become a part of your journey.
Well, I'm so much older than you. The journey is, I've got more journey behind me than I do in front. But
Mm.
the question of uh, again is something that was created when we were brought here in chains. That
Yeah,
just like the perspective that was created when black men were beaten down and their families brought to see them beaten down, the women,
right, right.
and we find ourselves still finding a way to mistrust, distrust, and otherwise castigate one another in a manner that is unbecoming, of course, but then off-putting with others that you might be able to make something happen with. So, as you as you've moved through the various stages of your business life, how do you fit family, business, and self?
Yeah, I still ain't figured that out. I mean, I don't know. I don't know how people do it. I mean, I think it's a constant journey. I love to work, and work is very much a part of who I. The work that we do is very much a part of who I am. I'm fortunate to be in a business where, we're storytellers, and we're telling the story about the journey of the black experience over the last 400 years. So everybody I meet is a potential story. And so I live it and breathe it every day. So unfortunately, it's just ingrained in my life. I have two kids. They're grown now, so I don't have to worry about going home and checking on them. They're 26 and 23.
But they still know daddy's telephone number. And
Oh yeah,
go
oh
ahead,
yeah, oh
go
yeah,
ahead with what you were saying. I'm sorry.
oh yeah. No, no, my kids know. I pop up anywhere. My son is 26. Went to Morehouse. Graduated from Morehouse. Went to Harvard Divinity School. Graduated from Harvard Divinity School. He moved to Amman, Jordan, to study Arabic, and he just recently moved back from Jordan. Now he's at the University of Chicago. But hey, my kids know that if you take two steps, I'm gonna take the third one with you. If you don't take them two steps, I can't help you. But if you take them two steps, I'm gonna take the third one with you. And I had to pop up in Jordan to see my son because of the conflict in Gaza. It was so close. I need to go check on him. And they know, my kids know that I'm accessible to them. They're accessible to me 24/7. And biggest joy of my life is just being a father. My daughter is 23. Her name is Grace. She lives in Brooklyn, and she's doing a lot of work with Hart Productions, Kevin Hart's production company, learning how to write scripts and edit scripts. And so, I speak to them every day. They've turned out to be amazing young adults. And I really love the fact that they're productive human beings now. And when they were growing up, it was always a balance of trying to spend time with them and going out and working. But, their time was not negotiable. I mean, I spent time with them, but it was tough. When people talk about work-life balance, I don't really know what that means. Like, that's always been a tough thing for me. But you do what you got to do, right? And
you prioritize it.
Absolutely.
As an old football coach, and growing up in the '60s and seeing the Pittsburgh Courier being the epitome of black literature periodicals, along with Ebony and Jet, and I find it hard to imagine it not naming a black college All-American team every year, because it was, when you made Pittsburgh Courier black college All-America team, that's as high as you could go in HBCU football.
Wow.
So the hearing you talk about the Courier, which I thought was long gone, that you still are pushing. What is the focus of, like you said, telling the story of black folks? The lady here in town who owns the Tennessee Tribune does a heck of a job of getting the black story out each week, and she's just had a article in her paper about the state of Tennessee's effort to bring the demise of Tennessee State University, and she is leading newspaper in this part of the country. What is the future of your newspapers? I know ads and so forth and so on are the bread and butter of print media. Where are we going? Where are our periodicals going over the next 10 years?
And who's the owner of that paper?
What's her name? Rosetta.
Oh, Rosetta Perry.
Yeah.
Yeah. I know Miss Perry. Yeah, know her well. Well, let me just say this: nothing is forever. Nothing lasts forever, right? And our business is no different than any other business. I mean, where's Blockbuster Video right now, right? The companies that evolve, that are committed to change, are companies that are really successful. And then what happens is that you get new companies that disrupt all of that. Instead of Ebony being as successful as it was, now you got the Griot or the Root, or you have other companies that are digital only. So what we've tried to do is look at our business and say, nothing happens without change. I mean, there's going to be rapid evolution in this business, and so we have 5 news brands, but we only print 2 of them. We print the Pittsburgh Courier and we print the Michigan Chronicle. Everything else we do is digital only. The Chicago Defender is a digital only platform.
Okay.
We started evolving our business over 10 years ago. And so right now, we're not focused on, print. We're focused on building out our digital platform, podcasting, email, databases, special events, website growth, licensing and merchandising. That's really the future. Short form stories. We use our archives to produce stories. We're doing a musical in February based on a story that we got out of our archives. So we look at, the print aspect of the newspaper business. That's just how we distribute the news. The print, digital is just another way to distribute it. So we don't look at it. We look at it like we're in the same business. We're just distributing the content a different way, and we focus on change. And we talk to our readers, our listeners, and we find out how they're consuming their news and information and their entertainment, and then we just try to satisfy them. We've been really successful at it, Mr. Head, but I'm afraid for many of us who are in the black press, because many of us have not made that evolution. We're still printing papers. We still expect quarter page ads, half page ads, and that business is still alive and well, but it is slowly disintegrating. Not because the advertisers don't want it, because the readers have moved on. People want to experience their content when they want to and how they want to. They want to share it.
Immediately.
They want to save it later.
And they want it immediately.
Exactly. So, I see the demise of print as an opportunity. It has allowed us to compete with the big fellas, and to be very creative in terms of the type of content we develop and how we deliver it to our listeners and our readers. But if you're not innovative, this ain't a game you should be in.
Yep.
This is the wrong game if you're not about change.
You can't hold on to anything long. You must always be evolving.
Yes, sir.
One of the things I noticed, again, as former football coach, athletic director in HBCUs, the use of print in the neighborhood is still probably the best way to get stuff out to folks who don't necessarily have a phone. Now they have a phone, but they don't have internet service. At the barber shop, the beauty shop, the vehicle shop, the bump and repair, all those places where we find need to be or hang out or go to actually get a haircut. And I find that there is a viable audience for print media that is made up of folks who are not quite yet tech savvy enough to do the things that print media does for them. But that is, like you said, something that is going to slowly go away as people age out and leave here and replaced by people who come into the world with AI as their first name. So it's the evolution of what you do is as fleeting and expedient as anything around, since everybody just about uses it.
Yeah. Well, I think that I just had a conversation with my technology guy in the office here. We do a lot of events, and it used to be like we sent out physical invitations. People could call and RSVP for the event. They bring their ticket to the door. We take their ticket, we process them, and they go on to the event. We don't print tickets anymore. We send you a QR code, and you bring your phone to the event, and we scan that QR code. Well, if you're not technology savvy, you don't know how to get the QR code, you don't know how to download it, and when you get to the event, you don't have a physical ticket. The reality is that unfortunately, I can't accommodate everybody that does not know how to use a QR code. So I set up a help desk, and or then you have to go get assistance. But the technology is it's changing whether you like it or not.
Oh yeah, it'll run over
And
you.
I think that we do have an older generation um, that isn't as savvy because they didn't have to be. But I tell you what, black people over 50 is one of the fastest group adopting technology in the world right now, because the adoption has been slow. But now you're in a situation where if you don't adapt to the technology, you're gonna be left behind. So I don't know. I think it's a wonderful thing. I mean, life changes, technology moves us forward, and you can see how AI is impacting all of us. So there is a balance. So I believe that there is a balance, and we have to be mindful that technology can be harmful and can have some unintended consequences that we should be aware of. But as it relates to my business, I've embraced technology, and we use it to the best of our ability to generate new content.
Yeah, well, we've done as a great business of two that has made not a nickel. We've
Mhm.
we've done a couple of events with the church that we work with, a Juneteenth event back
Mhm.
in June, and health related stuff. Nashville has as many hospitals and schools as any three or four cities in the country.
Mm.
We've got a hospital for everything, a hangnail, all the way up to brain surgery. So
Right.
so this town is full of tech savvy, STEM related people,
Mhm.
who are students, who are teachers of those students, who are doctors and lawyers and Indian chiefs, if you will. So it is a city that has a very, very active tech oriented population.
Yeah.
And luckily so, that being of the baby boomer era, uh, having to learn how to utilize an instrument I didn't ever see until I was 50 years old, and now to see it blossom and bloom as it has and does continue is amazing, to say the least.
Mhm.
So your company and others like you are driving the purposefulness of technology. As you move forward in your company, where do you expect, say, in the next 10 years, that the not your company specifically, but technology is going with AI and all the other stuff that will bloom with it?
Yeah, I think that I don't want to say 10 years yet, but let me take you 3 to 5 years. I feel confident that we will be doing some really cool production work. Our focus moving forward is going to be on untold Black stories. We have a massive archive, and we have identified a lot of stories about Black people and the Black experience that haven't been told yet. When you think about it, Mr. Head, when you hear about Black history, you hear about the Malcolm X's, the Martin Luther Kings, the Rosa Parks, the Emmett Tills, but you never heard of Ruby McCullum or some of these other folks, some of the other players who were in the civil rights era. And today you have Netflix and Tubi and Paramount Plus and all of these different streaming services, and they are in dire need of really good content. Um, and I think that black people should be in charge in developing these black stories. I think that we should be telling our own version of, the black experience.
Well,
Um,
expect some stories from Nashville to come to you.
oh, there we go. I'm ready. I'm ready for it. So I see us doing documentaries, both short and long. I see us continuing our live events business, our licensing and merchandising business. I think will be thriving. Pitch Black, our strategic communications and marketing company, working with companies to help them build market share with black folks, I think will do well. And we want to use our platform to help companies with getting data about black people. When you do this podcast, every time somebody downloads it, you should be able to get some data on it, on that person. If you go to our websites or open our newsletter or attend our events, I'm collecting data about you, what your consumer habits, where you live, how much money you make, all of that, and that's very, very valuable information in terms of helping companies understand our buying habits, our voting habits. Uh, you know, that's where I see us going. I believe our platform can be in millions and millions of households throughout the country, educating black people and those who are interested in the black experience about our journey.
Well, I agree totally. The the next round of innovation, as it seems to come, seems to be moving toward being able to access exactly what you want by finding the right platform with the right programming and the right uh, situations that you want as an individual. As one who grew up in the three network era, ABC, CBS, NBC, they are suffering from a lack of flexibility,
Right.
and the flexibility, the non flexibility is driven by uh, what you can put on that platform, and how often you can change it, and how eclectic is the content for the people who utilize it.
Right. No, absolutely. I mean, I think you summarized it properly. But I think we got a lot of work to do to take control of our stories, take control of our journey, take control of our neighborhoods, take control of telling our own story to our children and our grandchildren. But I think I'm encouraged. I'm encouraged. I think just in my lifetime, we've amassed certain aspects of our community. We've amassed a certain amount of wealth. As an entire community, we haven't figured it out yet. We still have abject poverty in some of our cities. Childhood poverty is over 50% in some of our cities. The wage gap between those who are black and non-black you know, has increased over the last couple of years. So we got a lot of work to do. But those of us who have had some level of success, I think it's incumbent upon us to make sure that we share our stories and talk about, an overall game plan, so to speak, for our community. And that's not easy to do.
No. Uh, as you look at the opportunity to tell our stories, there seems to be a concerted effort to obfuscate our stories by other people. We know the story as we told it to be recorded or reproduced, but then when we see the finished product, doesn't look anything like what we submitted for consideration, which means now it's what's written into it is our being subservient, or we're either subservient, extremely good, or way over on the other side, extremely bad. There is no paved 1 mile of concrete for us, even though we poured the concrete for the 1 mile, the first mile.
Right.
My father was a building contractor. I can go back to my hometown and point out things that he built 60 years ago.
Wow.
65 years ago. So the legacy of what we have done, as I read, history never begins until the white man shows up.
right.
All of Egypt's history is null and void until the white man starts telling the story.
Right.
And when he tells it from his perspective.
Yes, sir.
The Greeks became the great culture, but they stole all of it from the Egyptians. And 2,000 years of the Greeks claiming what the Egyptians had done as their own. So it's the obvious imbalance is just almost too inane to consider. In your own words or your last words with us, tell us what you would like to leave our audience with.
Well, I always say let's go get it. Let's dream big. Let's take big steps. Let's be prepared. I'm encouraged. I like what I see out here. I'm a capitalist at heart, and when I see a neighborhood that has decaying homes and maybe been divested, I see it as opportunity. I try to stay positive, Mr. Head, and I think that in the midst of chaos, we just went through an election that was pretty tough. I just think we got to make sure that two things. Number one, that we don't miss opportunity that's, disguised as difficulty. Many of us in the black community are going to move forward now believing that we are in a very difficult political environment, when I think that, the opportunities are endless.
Because they're going to grow over time.
Absolutely. I mean, as an entrepreneur, I'm always looking for where the need is, And I think right now, you look at some of these industries that are emerging, like AI and electric vehicles. We're about to have an economic revolution like we've never had before. Clean energy. This whole country is about to be rebuilt. Its infrastructure is about to be rebuilt. Roads, bridges. And how do we participate in that? We missed it. We missed the first economic revolution, the industrial revolution. We ought not miss this. So, I encourage any entrepreneur that hears this, look at clean energy, look at AI, EVs, rebuilding of the American infrastructure, and the media. Let's not forget the media. The media, like you have a podcast yourself, very influential podcast. It doesn't take a whole lot to be able to use your voice and be a thought leader. in your community. Let's be creative. Let's work together. Let's put our coins together. Let's make smart investments. Let's pray together. And I
Amen
don't
to
think
that.
that's yeah. I don't think that's dreaming. I think that's realistic. Blocking and tackling. So I'm a real estate investor as well. I have a few projects here in Detroit. And again, Detroit went through a bankruptcy a few years ago. We were the largest municipal bankruptcy in the history of America. But from that, there are some people here who had never been entrepreneurs in real estate before, but now we are. We are participating in the rebuilding of our city. I think that you know, uh, be positive and let's go get it.
Well, I would add to that, if you've got some money to invest, invest it in the black community.
Yes,
That's
sir.
that's where we have lost out, because when desegregation came, we became uh, customers of the other folk. They have shown to themselves to be unappreciative and uh, unrealistic in their views of our money, because the black community in this country is only exceeded in spending as a consumer economy by uh, China and India, because
Yes, sir.
they got 1 billion people in each one of those. So if they all earn $1, it's a heck of a engine. But
Right.
Hiram, you tell our mutual friend and your brother-in-law, thank you for hooking us up, and we want to invite you to be back with us anytime that you feel the need, and we'll call you and see if we can't get you some Tennessee stories to real times. We've had a lady who we think a lot of, Miss Williams, who wrote a book about her educational experiences in the old Nashville in
Mm.
1960s, being the first, one of the two first little black girls in their school.
Wow.
And
Would love to hear more about that. And anytime you need me, let me know. I'm here.
all right, we appreciate you. God bless.
Thank you. We appreciate you. Thank you. Go Lions.
Absolutely. Ladies and gentlemen, one of us.
Okay.
Ladies and gentlemen, as we close today's show, a couple of things I want to ask you about. If you're interested in challenging the way the state of Tennessee is handling Tennessee State University, I would ask that you would go to the comment page below this picture and just say yes and leave us your email address. I want to start a Tennessee State University Defense Fund, uh, co, GoFundMe to straighten this mess out. We see that state legislators and the governor are in a larcenous mood, and the former president, Dr. Glover, has clarified her position, and it looks nothing like what they've been selling us in the local mainstream media. Uh, Optimism is always a desirable attitude to maintain. How we look at life and assess our situation at any given moment is of profound significance. It can literally be the difference between living and dying. Some disappointments, struggles, failures, disasters, rejection, sickness, hardship, loss, and grief do happen. Do happen. Yet, as long as we live, none of these realities have to be what ultimately defines who we are. Quote from my pastor and good friend, the Reverend Edwin O Soul Sanders at Metropolitan Interdenominational Church. In the words of, a little heavy. Let's just leave it like that. Ladies and gentlemen, you have been watching Let's Talk About It on NorthNashvilleTV.com, the voice of the voiceless.